Welcome, Knights of Apollo. We have gone back in time. It's the 1st of July, 1097, and this is the very beginning of the Battle of Dorylaeum. A battle that would last about 7 hours. Now, before this battle, the Pope called a crusade to help the Byzantine Empire retake their lands and an opportunity to take the holy city known as Jerusalem, the Holy Land, Deus Vult. Now, shortly before the Battle of Dorylaeum, the leaders of the crusading army all agreed to take the very important city Nicaea, which was under the control of the Sultanate of Rome. The siege was pretty difficult. The defenders held out for a long time, but thanks to the Byzantine Empire with their ships, they were able to completely surround the city, and eventually the defenders surrendered. And the Crusaders also, during the siege, held off a relief force that was supposed to save the city. The relief force was led by Sultan Kilij Aslan. Now, he was actually he actually led the army that slaughtered the People's Crusade, which happened before the official crusade, which was more of a joke. So Kilij Aslan underestimated another Crusader invasion, and that's partially why he was not able to save the city of Nicaea. Now, after the conquering of Nicaea, the Byzantine Empire paid the crusading army, and the crusading army continued inward through the Sultanate of Rome's lands to eventually get to Jerusalem. Now, their army was so large that they decided to split up their forces, and leading the vanguard force was about 10 to 20,000 troops. The two commanders leading this force was Robert II of Normandy and Bohemond. He was the Prince of Taranto. So these two commanders were leading a vanguard, again, about 10 to 20,000 troops. We even had some Norman Knights in the army, which is badass. I love the Norman Knights, man. They're so cool. But as this vanguard force was headed inward, they got to an ancient city called Dorylaeum. And there is where they set up camp. And there is where the Sultanate of Rome, the Sultan Kilij Aslan, rallied his troops and set up an ambush to slaughter the vanguard. And this was brutal, guys. This ambush was insane. The Crusaders never dealt with anything like this before. Horse archers, just tons of horse archers, which was mostly the Sultanate's army, just spraying down arrows everywhere. There were women in the camps who were supporting the soldiers by supplying them water. And all the Crusaders could really do was keep their shields up and wait for reinforcements. Now, the Normans did set out a bold charge to chase down the horse archers, but again, horse archers are going to do what horse archers do, which is fall back and fire at them as they're getting chased. So that didn't work out. And again, the Crusaders sat there and they fought for 5 hours. 5 hours they stood alone, taking on the enemy. That is an insane amount of time. I mean, just think about being one of these soldiers, surrounded, ambushed, arrows flying everywhere. Even if you're not physically fighting someone and you're just standing there with your shield up, the adrenaline, going for 5 hours and just every second could be your last, that is mentally and physically exhausting. But these soldiers, thanks to the great leadership, showed great discipline in the face of the enemy, and they held out for 5 hours. And that's, in the first 5 hours, that's when the first reinforcement force arrived. It was Godfrey, who was leading a small relief force. It wasn't enough. It wasn't enough to break the Sultan's army. But they fought their way through the Sultan's army because, again, they were surrounding these Crusaders. So they fought their way through the army, and they arrived and supported the vanguard. Even though it didn't break the Sultan's army, I'm sure it was a great morale booster, seeing help, seeing fresh legs, seeing fresh men able to join the fight and the struggle. So that went on for another 2 hours after that first relief force. And finally, a much more powerful relief force led by Adhemar, the legate of the Pope, he led a large force. He was able to go around the mountains thanks to some Byzantine guides, and they were able to save the army and break Sultan Kilij Aslan's forces. And I mean, this is just one of the epic moments in history where it's just a hopeless situation, but yet through just pure discipline and just pure leadership, they were able to survive this ambush. And, you know, there's stories of, like, the Crusaders being pushed all the way back to this river here, fighting in the river. I believe Robert of Flanders, who was there, he's quoted in saying, "Today, if it pleases God, you will all become rich." Like, it's almost saying, like, we've gone through so much that if we get through this, we're going to be filthy rich. And the aftermath of the battle is they actually got pretty wealthy. I think they you know, scavenged, or not scavenged, but they did come across some wealth after the battle. But yeah, that's the story of this battle. I mean, it's just one of those stories where it's just like an epic last stand. You've got women giving water to the men, to the soldiers, knights holding their, you know, dismounting their cav, holding with the swordsmen. It's just really, really cool, a fascinating story, and it's great that we can recreate it on Medieval 2 Total War. So let's go ahead and look at these armies here, look at this scenario, and then we're going to dive right in. So leading the vanguard force, we actually have Waffles here. It is a Sicilian army because of the Norman Knights. But again, remember the Prince of Taranto was there, who actually months or maybe years before this crusade raided the Byzantine Empire. So now he's helping them. It's a weird world. But he's got mercenary crossbows in the front. He has some Crusader sergeants, which is like his first line here. He does have some religious pilgrims. And then, of course, in the back, he's got some Norman Knights. He's got some unhorsed Knights, which is basically dismounted Norman Knights. And then here's more dismounted Norman Knights. And then, of course, here is the general representing both generals. Here he is right here. Again, Bohemond, Prince of Taranto, and Robert II of Normandy. So let's go ahead and go look at the Sultanate of Rum, which is being represented by the Turks. So the first army is led by Paladin Bob the Legend. And again, the Sultanate of Rum's forces are mostly consisting of horse archers. They do have a couple infantry here and there, which wouldn't be surprising. You could even see a lot of, I can imagine a lot of the horses maybe dying, and they had to, like, you know, get off the horse and charge the enemy on foot. But historically, it was mostly cav. And it was mostly mounted cav, or not mounted cav, but mounted archers harassing the Crusaders. And here's more of his forces. And there's another Sultanate of Rum force commanded by Moxie. And he has a lot of similar forces. Look at all these horse archers. Look at this. This is insane. Just a massive amount of horse archers. Looks awesome. So, yeah. Very cool. Now, there are going to be a couple relief forces. So we got a couple more players. The first relief force, led by Godfrey, is represented by the Holy Roman Empire, commanded by Myro 2033. So he's got a lot of cav, which showed up. It was knights that showed up. It was a small force. I think it's, you know, these numbers are, it's hard to estimate, but I think there's about 50 knights who showed up and helped in the first relief force. And then, of course, the second relief force, which will show up much later, commanded by Stevo the Bull, who actually created this scenario. So thank you, dude, so much for this. This is so cool. So thank you, Stevo. He's leading the Adimar, the legate of the Pope, who arrives with this the saving grace force. He's got mounted sergeants, mercenary Frankish troops, and general's bodyguard mixed in with some feudal knights. So really, if we're looking at the strategy of this battle, it's all up to the Turks to defeat this force quickly, right? And then prepare for the reinforcements. And of course, if the vanguard wants to, if the Crusaders wants to win, they have to do the same thing that history did. They have to hold out until reinforcements can arrive. So let's go ahead and do normal speed, guys, and get this battle underway. It's actually, I'm really, really excited about another historical battle. It's been a long time, guys, and I'm really pumped for this. So Paladin Bob, he's going to be sending over some missile cav, scouting out the situation. getting a good view on the Crusaders here, and he's obviously going to take the high ground. And I would not focus too much on the crossbows. You saw some heavy lancer type cav in the Sultanate of Rum's army. I would try to use them to run down the crossbows, but he's actually getting really dangerously close. And there we go, the first volley of the battle, and that's when the Crusaders are freaking out. That's like, oh, we're under attack, ambush, ringing the bell or something. That would have been cool if they forced the Crusader player to like have his army just like all over the place, and he had to wait until the first volley to officially set up his forces, just to kind of represent the havoc of an ambush. The havoc of troops running around and grabbing their armor and their shield, trying to prepare for battle. But yeah, now he's got the circle formation, firing down at some mercenary spearmen. So he might be using these mercenary spearmen as a meat shield. He's also got some Frankish knights over here, which are like feudal knights, but they have spears and a kite shield, which is really cool. Now we have the other player coming in using his Turkish horse archers. Again, Sultanate of Rum. It's the Turkish representing them. I really wish there was more factions in Medieval 2, the more like historical factions. I mean, a lot of the times they just kind of in this game, which I get, but they basically just like generalized regions. Like the Holy Roman Empire, there's no like sub dukes and stuff, and there's no like Bavaria and stuff like that, which would be really cool to see the different banners and different areas represented in the Holy Roman Empire. I think that would be sick. Something that you see in 1212 AD. But here we go. They are actually moving up the Ghulams, and let's see if he can charge. He's going to try to get past these spears. A nice charge there, killing a lot of these mercenary spears, while the horse archers are just firing down and slaughtering these crossbows. And this really gives you a little bit of a sense of a feeling of what this battle might have really been like. And just seeing all these archers in the chaos there. I mean, can you imagine being surrounded by horse archers? Like, it would be insane. Or archers who are on horses, not horses that are shooting bows. You know what I'm talking about. But it would just be insane. It would be so chaotic. Here comes another charge. He's actually charging in some Turkish horse archers. I don't know if he's actually gonna... I don't know if that was a misclick there, but he's just... He might have been trying to go for the crossbows, but they're well protected by protected by Crusader sergeants, which they're gonna fall back here and go to the safety of their forces. Now we have the Turkish infantry, or I'm sorry, the Sultan of Rum's infantry. You get what I'm saying. So he's sending in some Gazis, sending in, and they've got some nice axes going into the fight. Let's see if they hold these spears here. There they go. They're trying. They're holding. And then we got more forces over here forming up. The Frankish knights ready to take on this light infantry, which I'm not even going to try to pronounce. And they're actually falling back here a little bit, and we're getting more and more Crusaders going into the fray and trying to support their front lines. We got more Crusader knights over here as well, just sitting back in reserve. And there's the poor Frankish axemen holding this line, mixed in with the religious fanatics and pilgrims who are supporting the front line. They actually, are they breaking? No, they're not breaking. They're retreating. And here comes more cav coming in, trying to run down the infantry that's not really expecting cav because they're so busy fighting the enemy infantry. And now the Norman Knights, just like history, charge out to deal with the enemy cav. Look at this. Beautiful. This is so cool. The Norman Knights. And they actually scare off the Sultanate of Rum's cav. And let's see if they stay up here. The archers are going to really soften up these Norman Knights. And this is an ideal target to go after if you're leading the Sultanate of Rum. Now the general charges in, trying to support and destroy these Norman Knights, which it looks like he might actually be able to do. But some Norman Knights. Look at all the arrows just flying overhead. It's so awesome. Here comes more and more infantry coming into the fray in this epic infantry battle. Now I assume they have to wait at least 5 minutes until the first reinforcements can arrive. But so far, I mean, the Crusaders seem like they're doing a pretty good job. They're holding back the enemy. They still have pretty solid numbers. The Sultan of Rum still trying to push past the front line, trying to cut through deep into the Crusader lines. And now, look at this. Now he's got his professional Norman Knights fighting into the fray. There we go. More charging going in here. Spears charging in, going after these Norman Knights, but they hold their ground, damn it. They've lost a lot to arrows, enemy archers, but they will hold on. The crossbows still have some numbers here trying to, you know, answer back to the horse archers. But let's look real quick. Let's see what's going on here. Oh, yes, here we go. Godfrey has arrived with reinforcements. But obviously it's much larger. I think if he had a smaller, I think he should have went with like 2 units here. Since Godfrey, again, from what I've read about the reinforcement force, it's very small. Maybe the creator of the scenario came up with, you know, saw a different source, or maybe it's just a balancing thing to keep the balance. But the Sultan of Rum have some cav prepared for these reinforcements. He goes in for a charge, but kind of misses the Crusader Knights, who are gloriously. I love the red cross. Just looks awesome. But yeah, they're trying to they're trying to get to their allies. They're not even fighting the Sultanate of Rum like right away, like wherever. They're actually trying to get support to their allies. Which, oh, there's actually Turks behind the enemy camp, or from their perspective, the enemy, the Crusader camp, and the Crusader Knights trying to chase them off. So very good use of the Crusader Knights as they protect the main body of the vanguard. We've got a huge melee fight here. Arrows just still flying all over the place. Look at that. It is just raining arrows, guys. Raining arrows. And this has been a tough battle. Here comes a nice Norman charge. Look at that, the Norman Knights. I love them, guys. I freaking love the Norman Knights. Doing a great job of crushing these guys and making them break. So breaking a lot of the Sultan of Rum's forces. Now we've got more from Godfrey coming in with some troops charging in. Do we have a little battle over here as well? So you can see this battle has gotten very chaotic as more reinforcements have arrived. The balance power looking pretty good for the Crusaders. So the Turks really need to clean this up before the final relief force arrives. Let's see what they can do. Let's see here. They're just now moving, but they're not moving at full speed, and they have a lot of ground to cover to get to this fight. But look at all the Turks still have plenty of numbers, and again they have horse archers, which are a real pain to deal with. So they're going to be able to really soften up the enemy from a distance, which is going to help keep their men alive, obviously. Now, but these Norman Knights, man, the dismounted Norman Knights, they've got to deal with them. They got to get them off the battlefield if they want any chance of winning this one. And I would be using my horse archers to focus down these Norman Knights because they are behind the infantry. But you can see things are starting to calm down here. I mean, look at all the carnage. Look at all the death here. All the bodies. It's a carpet of bodies, guys, as these Crusaders hold on. But they're running out of troops, but that's okay. Reinforcements from Godfrey and Ademar will arrive very soon. Nice dismounted Frankish Knights charge. We got a nice charge here from Sicily. The general. Yeah, I think he's down to his general too. And the archers firing point blank at the cav. And here comes Godfrey. He's ripping through the lines as well. And now we've got. Oh, hey, is this Kilij Aslan? It just spelled differently. For me, it's like K-I-L-I-J Aslan, which is the same. But I think this is Kilij Aslan. That's awesome. So he's actually on the battlefield instead of just saying General's bodyguard. He's here. What's the deal with that? That's sweet. So he's taking on the reinforcements. He's doing the best he can, but a lot of these troops are dying quickly. arrows still flying pretty at a pretty steady rate. And here comes the final reinforcements. Adhemar, the legates of the Pope, arrives leading a huge relief force, which is awesome. Not this day. We will not fall. Jerusalem will be ours. Oh, man. And look at the horse archers. Like, quick, form. Reinforcements are here. Fire your bows, you bastards. There we go. They charge in, closing in the gap, trying to mitigate as much damage as possible from these horse archers. Uh-oh. The wind of battle is changing. Our enemy has horns of clay. Just an epic. Look at this scene right here, guys. Just an epic fight. Now, this has been a pretty challenging battle to cover because there is a lot of chaos going on right now. But it's good fun, guys. Good fun. Really epic fight. But yeah, with that. Oh, the general's dead. Kilij Aslan. He is dead. Though I think historically he does not die in the battle. But I don't know for sure. I'm pretty sure. But yeah, the forces, man, the reinforcements are just too much for the Turks. The Crusaders over here at the camp still fighting the good fight against the Sultanate of Rome's infantry. Then we got some Norman Knights going around the flank, and that's going to be the deal breaker for these guys, which causes them to break. And now the Knights will continue to run down the horse archers. And the horse archers, as much as they try, they just don't have enough ammo to kill everyone. Nor do they have enough men to put enough pressure on the enemy. But here we go. They're going to come in and try to catch them before they break. And they are breaking right there. And you can see that this battle is over. And history will repeat itself today here at the Battle of Dorylaeum, which historically was like a 7-hour battle. Again, guys, how insane it must have been to be in that front line holding against so many horse archers, not really knowing if reinforcements are going to show up before it's too late. And just the pure discipline of these Crusaders in such an adversity is impressive alone. And because of that discipline, they're able to live another day. At least some of them. a good amount of them actually were able to see another day. So historically, casualties, there was about 4,000 on the Crusader side and about 3,000 on the Turkish side. Numbers wise, I think it was about 8,000 mounted horse archers, so it really wasn't a ton. But again, it was the power of the horse archers that were just terrifying. And even though the Crusaders had larger numbers, they couldn't do anything about it. So yeah, that's what it came down to. And I think at this time in history, both sides kind of learned about each other, about the discipline of the Crusaders and the armor, and then of course the Crusaders learning about horse archers. And I want to give a huge shout out. I got a lot of information from a great YouTuber, Baz Battles, who covers this battle in detail. In fact, most of the information I gave you guys here is from that video. So I have a link to the video. Give that guy some support. Subscribe to his channel because that dude's got an awesome channel. I've used him before to look at battles in more detail. So thank you to him. He's got a great channel, so check it out. So we've got see, this is Kilij Aslan. He got about let's see, he killed about 1,000 men, but he lost 1,200. His ally here getting 800. And then, of course, Sicily getting the most kills because the reinforcement forces just didn't, they got there late. So I think to make this scenario a little bit better, I would say give the relief force a little bit less troops and make the Sicilian forces here kind of like unorganized, have troops everywhere, that you have to quickly organize, kind of making it feel like like an ambush. But that's gonna wrap it up for today's video, guys. Thank you so much for joining me on this epic fight and going back in history, which is so cool. But thank you guys so much. It means a ton to me. Also, guys, a little shout out to my Kickstarter for my card game. There's a link to that down below as well. So I really hope you check it out, share it, support it. That would be amazing. But that's going to be it for me today. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time on the battlefield.